Hi, I'm Em of M Doodles and Stuff. I'm mainly on TikTok doing influencer baby name predictions, and I do baby name consultations, but this channel is where I do anything else long form that I want to talk about. This is a Doodle Talk video, which means a few different things, but one of them is that hopefully as you're watching, you're doing something else. It could be doodling. It could be folding laundry. It could be painting your nails. I've loved hearing you guys leave comments about all the different productive and fun things you've done while sort of watching this video. I don't expect your eyes on the screen at all times. If there's something I think you should see on the screen, like a visual aid, I'll let you know. But do your thing. I try to talk slower in these videos for a few reasons. One, I don't have a time limit like I have on TikTok. I can take my time. And second, I'm trying to feel less crazy. I started listening to Amber Fillerup on the Girls Camp podcast. I haven't finished the episode yet, but I started listening to it, and there's so many things to be said about the messages she gives there. But one thing that caught my attention was how she speaks very slowly in a way that you could tell it's because she's being so thoughtful with what words are about to come out of her mouth. And I've never been thoughtful about the words that are about to come out of my mouth. If I'm just speaking completely unscripted, which is these Doodle Talks are completely unscripted, I have no idea what I say, and usually I get to the end and I'm like, well, that was terrible. Did I say anything cohesive whatsoever? I have to confess, doing these videos is very fun and is a very big learning exercise for me, because I often record the whole thing and then about 24 hours later, go over to the camera and delete it. And then start over. And did I do that with this? Yeah, this is my third time trying to record it. And that is so dumb, because the whole point of this is just chatting about whatever I want, and it doesn't need to be perfect, but my goodness, that is hard. And I feel like I get in a little frenzy, talking really fast, and then end up not saying anything at all. So I'm trying to slow myself down to be more thoughtful, actually let my brain and mouth work together. And if you want, you can just put the video in 1.25 speed, 1.5 speed. If you're absolutely delulu, as I'm hearing the internet saying now, I really like it. You could put it in double speed. I don't know what that's going to be like, but you can give it a try. Now, the very first thing of a Doodle Talk video is we go over the doodle prompt from last time, because the videos always end with a prompt of something you should draw or paint or create, because I love doing that and I think it's great. Even if you don't like it and you're not good at it, it's still so good. Just use paper, and just be without a glowing screen on us once in a while. So I always do my own doodle prompt in this is my doodle journal. It's a mix of drawings I've done, and also it's my journal and where I make to-do lists, and I have a little outline of what to talk about today. So this is where my doodle started, but I'm going to show you the iPad finished version. The prompt was draw a picture of a flower that you can see. Okay, so here's mine. This is the iPad finished version. I'm going to put that in quotes because we'll get to it. So something that's been fun is we moved into our first home a few months ago, and this being our first season here, have been able to see the transition of what grows in our yard, because we first saw the house in March. And in Minnesota, March is still 100% winter, 1,000% winter. We're talking multiple feet of snow in March. And then next time we saw it was the end of April, which is just 90% still winter. So then when we eventually moved in and it was actually green outside, we're like, whoa! We got plants? This is amazing. And my favorite thing is these. I think the name, at least generically, it's a purple bellflower. We have these growing all over in certain parts of our yard, and they are so magical. Like, these are the kind of flowers that fairies are all about, you know, and I am all about fairies. And I feel like depending on the size of fairy, a purple bellflower is either one, their hat, you know, like, oh, so cute. So it's either their hat, or scale down again, go to a smaller fairy. This is their dress. Like, this is their ball gown skirt. You know, there's just a lot of feminine, whimsical, fancy little fairy beauty to these bellflowers. And I've really loved seeing them around our yard. Now, this iPad drawing, I'm hesitant to say anything about it because it's not good. I'm not impressed with this, but I tried a different technique, and that is worth doing no matter how it turns out. It's always worth trying new things. I went to the Minnesota State Fair, as did every other resident of the state, I assume. I always go to the art tent along with all the other 72-year-olds that go. I love it. It's like the art competition, you know, it's like local. I'm not really sure on the range of amateur to professional. I'm not sure what the guidelines are, but I love going around and picking out my favorite. You know, you can find the ones that have the award-winning ribbons on them, but I love picking out my personal favorites. And I look at them, and then the next thing I do is go down and I look at what medium they used to create it. And I noticed a theme this year, and it was interesting because my background is in photography. I've always been in the arts, but I got a degree in photography. I rarely pick the photographs. I don't know, maybe I'm too critical of, I don't know. The medium that was consistently my favorite in that whole art exhibit at the state fair was always oil painting. It was always oil painting. And I've never touched oil paint a single time in my life. I have an iPad though with Procreate, and Procreate has an oil paint brush. So that was a little thought I had this month. Like, let's just give that a go. I like how big and loose it looks, especially when you're seeing an oil painting in person on like a huge canvas, and it's all like loosey-goosey strokes. It just feels very, I don't know, it's very feeling based rather than literal. So I tried that out. It's not amazing, but it was fun to try. So that's the doodle that I did recently. And now the next part of this is talking about a baby name. I've gone ahead and already done the little, I choose a random year and a random popularity ranking. And then we flip a coin. Where'd it go? Flip a coin for boy or girl, okay? I've actually already done it off screen because I thought it was boring that I was spending so much time on that part of the Doodle Talk every time I recorded this. You probably already know, the name we're talking about today is Cindy. And if you're curious, what would have been the name if it was a boy name today? That name would have been Denver. And these two names, Denver and Cindy, are the 496th most popular. So if you're thinking of the US popularity rankings, that is pretty much nearly smack dab in the middle. Right in the middle. And the year we're talking about is 1942. So when I think Cindy, I'm like, that makes sense to hear Cindy in that like middle America range. Denver, though, that surprised me, I'll be honest. But let's focus on Cindy. Let's start with this thought. Do I like it? Not really. So then I ask myself, why? Why do I not like it that much? And I think there's something about this name that feels like a baby boomer who never passed 5 years old. Oh, I don't mean that like they died when they were 5. I just mean like they were born in the baby boomer generation and they're just perpetually 5 years old. Or No, I was gonna say or, because I think of baby boomer, obviously that implies very old as well, because baby boomers are really old right now. But no, I stand by what I said. Cindy is a baby boomer who's perpetually 5 years old. And if we're trying to think about, well, why do you think that? The Brady Bunch, for sure, is a factor in there. Cindy Brady is the youngest Brady Bunch kid, and she honestly has a lot of the same vibes as Greta. So back in the winter time, actually it was like Christmas Eve, my husband and I, impromptu, spur of the moment, went to a local production of The Sound of Music, and I was like, this, because we had a babysitter. That was the miracle, because we were with family. So we're like, yes. The whole time, the woman that played Maria kept alternating between calling her Greta and Gretel. And I kept getting so distracted because my freaking brain is so hooked on names that then I was like, wait, yeah. Is it Gretel or Greta? So not only was I distracted by her doing it, it then infiltrated my brain. Gretel is in The Sound of Music. Cindy is the youngest in Brady Bunch. And I feel like they have some similar vibes where it's very much like this like chubby-faced little blonde or blondish girl who's like always has kind of like a grumpy brow is their vibe. Cute little styled hair that a 5-year-old would never tolerate doing every day, but they do it. Cindy and Gretel. Gretel? Oh my goodness, I'm still hesitating. It is Gretel. It's Gretel, it's not Greta. So when you look up information on the name Cindy, it will tell you that it is derived as a nickname for Cynthia or Lucinda. And to me, both of those names are very villain adjacent, which is interesting because Cindy is alternatively a nickname for Cinderella. And that's a really interesting mix. Cinderella versus Lucinda. Like Lucinda could be, what are Cinderella's sisters' names? Lady Tremaine, Anastasia, Drizella. Throw in Lucinda for sure. I don't know why my brain is focusing on so many movies, except, yes, I do, because I always do this. It's interesting that Cindy can be derived from Cinderella. And think about this. The name Ella is at number 25 most popular right now. Right now, today, Ella is 25th. Cindy, as a name, has completely dropped off the popularity charts altogether since 2014. And I'm actually surprised it made it that long. It reached its peak, it was at its most popular in 1957, which makes sense. It was like the decade, within the next 10 years, the Brady Bunch came out. You also had like Cindy Crawford. Yeah, those are the Cindys that come to mind. So it was like top 20, then it was top 50, it was top 100, and then I am shocked that even in 2003, Cindy was in the top 200s. What? That means that how old is someone that was born in 2003? Oh, that's really easy math, but I'm dumb. That is 20. So that means there are a certain number of 20-year-olds today named Cindy. And that's wild to me. Because a Cindy is not 20 years old. A Cindy is 5 years old. I feel like if I had to choose a name that feels like same but different, I would say Wendy. Which, yes, all I do is make movie references, it seems like. Wendy is a name that I've read, don't know for sure, that the first recorded time of the name Wendy existing was from the author of Peter Pan. Like, he came up with it on his own. Don't hold me to that. But do you see how Wendy and Cindy have similarities in length, sound, letters, and vibe, where Wendy is also a name that only, as of today, especially looking at the data, only really old ladies have those names now, but they feel perpetually 5-year-old boomer. Absolutely. Now the difference is, which one do I like? Wendy. I think Wendy is a very charming name and can make a comeback. Maybe it is making a comeback. Should we check? Wendy. What if, oh my goodness, I never thought about this. Because the problem with Wendy and Cindy is that idea of like, is it enough to be a full name? That's always a topic of conversation. I guess if you want Cindy, you can use Cynthia or Lucinda or Cinderella. Don't recommend it, but you could. Wendy, what do you do for a full formal name for that? And it just crossed my mind that if you really wanted to, you could use the name Wednesday. Yes, it's not the same, it's not identical, but I feel like there is definitely a growing interest in month names. Hello, August, June, January, etc. And day of the week names. Sunday, I mean, Wednesday's been around quite a long time because of the Addams Family, and I feel like those are becoming more mainstream. And I wonder, I kind of like the idea of having a daughter Wednesday and calling her Wendy. I think Wendy is also a spooky adjacent name, like Addams Family. Let me see. Who are significant when? Well, I know who's the most significant Wendy according to Google, and that is the local Wendy's franchise, which it's asking me would I like directions how to get there. Okay, who are Wendy's in pop culture? Yep, there's Peter Pan. Okay, there's a witch. Oh, Gravity Falls. Oh, no, none of these are familiar. There's a song by the Beach Boys. Okay, that was not helpful. Oh, let's look at real life Wendy's. Canadian actress, poet. Okay, never mind. Oh, Wendy. Wait, it's not Wendy Lou Who. It's Cindy Lou Who. It's showing me Melinda Lou Thomas, which is American namesake and spokeswoman for Wendy's restaurant. So Wendy's restaurant, Wendy's restaurant was named after Melinda Lou, who went by Wendy. So Wendy's restaurant is named after, oh, did I do it again? Wendy's restaurant is named after Wendy Lou. Duh, Cindy Lou. Cindy Lou Who? That's funny. That's a funny connection that Wendy Lou and Cindy Lou Who are both significant fictional characters. They sound fun. They sound cute together. Adding a Lou at the end never did any harm. Oh my goodness, where was I going with that? Cindy. Oh yeah, okay, so Wednesday with the nickname Wendy, charming. Cindy, I'm sorry, I can't think of very many things to say about it. Do I think it's going to make a comeback? No. However, does it have all of the same qualities as many names that have made a comeback? Absolutely, yes, it does. Is it really that different than Lucy? I'm trying to think. I should have thought through this more. Okay, let's go to 1942. What other names were happening then? I promise we're almost done talking about this. What did I say? 1942. Let's look at those top 1,000. Let's go find Cindy. Cindy, what else is up there? Ginger. Millie. Millie is just like a smidge above, and Millie's made a comeback. Dolly, April, Dottie and Dolly. Winnie. Yes, Winnie, that's a perfect one. Winnie. Okay, yeah, if that's so interesting that if Cindy is here right by Millie and Winnie. It has all of the similar qualities of names that have made comebacks, but I just can't see it happening. I think she's just like a little bit too stuck up. I don't like Cindy. So that's what my gut's saying, okay? Now, the next thing we do on the Doodle Talk is I just talk about one thing that's been on my mind from the World Wide Web. And that is a comment on a YouTube video that was left 10 years ago by username Shasta Winters. And the comment says, "The magic starts at 1:17. I love this song. How fitting that it gives me goosebumps. Winky face." And here we go. Let's backtrack. Way back. We'll get back to Shasta Winters in a bit. I need to talk about my favorite fall film. That is Fly Away Home. Here's the cover art. If you need to refresh your memory, Fly Away Home. Have you seen it? Do you know it? Do you love it? I have gathered my five significant points about Fly Away Home that I think are worth talking about. And I promise I was thoughtful about these, that this will be interesting whether or not you've seen the film. These points could encourage you to see the film. I think it's still interesting to point them out even if you have seen them, okay? I'm very mindful. This is by no means a hit movie, but it is in my heart and I want to talk about it. For starters, I didn't grow up with cable television. Any significant television show that happened pre-streaming service, never saw it. Just nothing. Did I ever see Friends? I've never seen an episode of Friends. Have I seen Seinfeld? No. I think because I never watched it back in the day, I think it sounds like the dumbest show. I'm so sorry. The laugh track just makes me so embarrassed and I hate it so much. Did I ever see Grey's Anatomy or any of those other like doctor shows? No. House? Nope, never. I think it's weird that his last name is House because that feels like it's a completely whole different concept. You know? There's a dentist in the local area whose last name is Doctor. He's Doctor, but he's a dentist. I would have preferred the guy with the name House to be in that situation. Now, this comes into play a lot when thinking about childhood memories and the way that the shows impact childhood nostalgia. Here's my hot take. I think there's a lot of movies out there that are highly praised, that are highly bad, but the nostalgia factor of it being a part of your childhood clouds your vision and you think it's good. That is totally fine. That could be me with Fly Away Home right now. It could be bad and it's just my memory making it good. I think this is particularly true of Disney original, like made for TV movies. I never saw them growing up. So when I did see them as an adult, where there was no nostalgic factor, I thought they were very bad. Halloween Town, very bad. Hocus Pocus, I actually don't know if that's a TV one or, I don't know. We never grew up watching Hocus Pocus. I don't like it. I'm sorry, I don't. And maybe part of this is just, I like things that are seasonal rather than holiday focused. That's another part of the equation. I don't like decorating holiday specific. I don't want to decorate for Halloween. I want to decorate for fall. I don't want to decorate for Christmas. I want to decorate for winter. That way I can leave it up longer and not feel weird about it. Does that make sense? So there's a few variables there. If it came out on a television channel, I didn't see it. I have no nostalgia for it. And for that reason, there aren't I can't think of any Halloween movies I love, even though I love Halloween as a holiday. Enter in Fly Away Home. Number one reason that it's worth watching and that I love it is because it is seasonal, not holiday. Okay, let me give you the one-sentence synopsis to start us off here. The one-sentence synopsis of Fly Away Home. A father and daughter decide to attempt to lead a flock of orphaned Canada geese south by air. Wow! They packed so much into that sentence. There were no commas or anything. Okay, I'm going to say it again, but really slow. That was really packed. I hope whoever wrote that got paid well from IMDb. So, okay, segment one. A father and daughter decide to attempt to lead a flock of orphaned Canada geese south by air. Does that make sense? A father and daughter decide to attempt to lead a flock of orphaned Canada geese south by air. This movie is starring Anna Paquin when she was young, like a teen, and Jeff Daniels as her father. And I'm only going to say this one time. There is a film that I have not seen, but I know also has those two people in it, and they are not a father-daughter dynamic in that film. It's very different, and I don't want to talk about it any more than that. Okay, so seasonal, not holiday. This is about Canada geese flying south. This movie embodies fall. It actually does visually cover all the seasons. Late summer, some of the moments you see, it's like late summer, start of the school year, you get a glimpse of Halloween. I think maybe a glimpse of Thanksgiving, except it's in Canada, so I'm not sure. Yeah, you see like the new growth of spring, you see different weather. It just really covers it all. But the bulk of the film is centered around the idea of fall is here and winter is coming. So it's definitely September, October, November focused. I do believe the geese have a deadline of like not December. November 23rd or something is like their deadline of when they need to get the geese moved. So absolutely, I can't think of a better film that is seasonal, not holiday, for fall. Okay? It's perfect for my needs. Now, the next thing worth talking about with Fly Away Home is I wrote down vibes, not drama. I, especially during the pandemic, had a really low tolerance for watching movies or TV that was very emotional. Because why would I need to be entertained? I need to be distracted from the distress of the world. I'm not going to choose an entertainment that's going to make me sad or distressed. I still feel like that to some degree. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be more open to watching distressing things because, a lot of times those are the ones that make it more worth it in the end to get to the happy part at the end. Like one of my favorite movies is Moulin Rouge, and sometimes I turn it off as the curtains close at the end, if you know what I mean. Cinderella. Do you know, there's been times where I've wanted to watch Cinderella 2015 because it is just like the most radiant, dazzling visual masterpiece of that decade. But I have to think, but I have to see all the sad things too. Am I up for that? Like, that's what I mean. That's my tolerance level. I'm asking myself, am I emotionally in a place to watch Cinderella? Fly Away Home, it's vibes but not drama. That's not to say there is nothing sad in it. There is a big sad at the beginning. But overall, I think what I'm trying to explain is that when it comes to the climax of the film, there's not a huge sense of antagonist or like enemy or like this big bad adversary to overcome. I think that's in part because this story of flying the geese south using human intervention, this is partially based on real life events, and they turned it into this fun kid movie experience. So like even in reality, that experience of like migratory birds didn't have like a big antagonist in that story. I guess just Mother Nature. So yeah, if you're looking for something that's mostly just good vibes, very low distress when it comes to the plot climax, sorry, is there another word? Yeah, its low points when things are getting rough are really never that rough. I need that sometimes. I'm so always in the mood to watch this movie, where I'm not always in the mood to watch Cinderella 2015 or Moulin Rouge, my goodness. Now, third reason this is a movie worth talking about. This is about a 14-year-old girl, and it is done so well and so unlike any other film I've seen about a 14-year-old. First, it's worth watching because it's not a kid movie where you have to see kids interacting with other kids. I don't really want to see kids talking to other kids when I watch movies. It tends to be annoying. It tends to be annoying and really unrealistic. And then, oh my goodness, you want to talk unrealistic? Let's talk about any piece of media made about teenagers ever. Like, let's think about Mean Girls, Riverdale, Grease. These are all things where they were technically in the scope of those films and shows. They are depicting 14-year-olds somewhere in that mix. No, they absolutely are not. No, they're not at all. But Fly Away Home does it right. The most you ever see of a kid interacting with a kid is Amy, the main character, like saying goodbye to a schoolmate as she's leaving. Because guess what? Amy's leaving because Amy is a moody introvert. And so almost entirely, we see Amy on her own, just like crouching, curled up, like hugging her knees against her chest in a field. We see her wandering through a forest. We see Amy exploring an old barn and going through dusty drawers to find her mother's old pearls and scarves. We see her on a tire swing as like the light streams in through the dusty barn rafters. We see her avoiding her father. We see her spending time with geese. This speaks to me. I connect more with Amy than probably any other teenager in any other media I've seen. I'm just making this connection now. Like, oh, I'm putting together the pieces of why I care about this. And the thing about it also is that when you can look at just pictures of her if you want, but you're looking at Amy, Anna Paquin, I'm not sure how old she was when she was filming it, but she looks young. Like if you told me this film was about an 11-year-old, I would believe you. She probably does really look 14. I think in movies and such, we're just so accustomed to teens looking and acting older than they are that it's so nice and realistic. 14 is young. 14 is so young, and it doesn't need to be played by a 30-year-old smoking cigarettes. Amy is an appropriately aged and behaving 14-year-old. It's really nice to see, and I'm so grateful we don't have to have dialogue of kids talking to kids. I just don't always need that. I don't ever need that. Now, fourth, I wrote down realistic, aspirational 90s fashion. My goodness, if no other reason appeals to you, at least consider that the 90s fashion in this film is phenomenal. It is perfect. This film was made in 1996, and the actual real life events that it's very loosely based on took place in 1986, I think. It's not clear if it's meant, if they're trying to make it look like the 80s or if they're putting it in modern day in 1996. Doesn't really matter. The fashion wouldn't be that different either way, but it's so good because it's clearly not trying to be a throwback. I think for those of us who lived through the generation of clothing that's now in style again, that 90s, early 2000s fashion that we're seeing now is so, feels like the Halloween costume version of what we lived. It feels like the stereotype of the 90s, early 2000s. It feels like if you think of your middle school and think of like the hottest, fakest girl you could possibly imagine, and then just took her wardrobe and like dialed it up to a 10, that's how young people are interpreting everyone to have dressed. You guys, when I was back then, I was wearing fleece sweatshirts from LL Bean and Old Navy flip-flops and like tie-dye t-shirts that I got at summer camp. I cannot relate to any of the style that is being interpreted as 90s and early 2000s. I wasn't a stylish on-trend person now. I was not a stylish on-trend person then or now. I just kind of do my own thing. And so I love looking at the 90s fashion in Fly Away Home because it's this like cozy, rural, Canadian plot of land where Amy and her dad live. And that's how she's dressing. Like she's dressed like someone who lives with her single dad. She's just wearing t-shirts and shorts or skirts, and she's got a bucket hat. She's got like a fuzzy bucket hat on, but it's so good. It's so good. It doesn't feel 90s fashion trying too hard. It feels completely genuine because it was actually made in 1996. I love it. Both the adults and Amy in the movie, it's perfect. Okay, and lastly, if there is one reason that this film deserves more chatter, it's going back to that comment from Shasta Winters 10 years ago, the magic starts at 1:17. I love this song. How fitting that it gives me goosebumps. Winky face. To be honest, I don't think that winky face needed to go into this comment. But what's important here is that this comment was left on a video which was uploaded of the Fly Away Home film score. This film score is so effing good. It's so good, you guys. It's so good. Okay, so where do we start? First, depending on what streaming or music platform you have, you may or may not be able to find the Fly Away Home soundtrack film score. Spotify does not have it, and it's a problem. You can, though, find everything on YouTube. I will absolutely link this video right here below, and then from there you can find the rest of them. And so the most famous song from the movie is the main title song, 10,000 Miles. It's not Sarah McLachlan, is it? We're going back to this video with the comment from Shasta Winter, because this isn't that one. That was the reason I was trying to get here. 10,000 Miles is a great song. I think it's the first one you hear in the film. But this one is Fly Away Home, First Flight, okay? Try to remember that, because they all kind of have those vague sort of film score titles. The titles of the songs in there here are Thomas at Work, Goslings Hatch Out, Amy is Found, Mother Goose, The Bathtub. So remember, First Flight is the one. This song is so powerful, and I'm so glad I saw Shasta Winter's comment a while back, because I was trying to figure out which song was the one with the moment. So I saw it and I was like, the magic starts at 1:17. And I went and I was like, there it is. I'm not going to play it right now because I don't understand how like copyright works and stuff. You'll find it right here below. But this song, particularly at that moment, in the same way Shasta pointed out, gives me goosebumps every single time. It is so powerful. It's very cello heavy, just orchestra. There's no singing. It's just instrumental. And I don't know if it's because I've seen the film. I think every film score is more powerful when you've seen the film and know the context of like the emotional experience and the visuals behind the moment where you're hearing that song. So if you haven't seen it, I even more so want you to go listen to Fly Away Home First Flight and tell me if it gave you any feelings or not. This could be completely the same as what I've said about Halloween Town, where it's like, it's only significant because of the nostalgia. Wait, Halloween Town. Is her name Wendy? Oh no, sorry, Marnie. I thought for a second she was a Wendy or a Cindy. Okay, so the soundtrack here, let me talk about it a little bit more. I go running a lot, and there's this one loop that's so extremely beautiful. Last summer and last fall, I would go there on Saturdays because it was a little bit longer, a little bit further away. So I did it on Saturdays. And when fall came around, I was like, Fly Away Home soundtrack is what I'm needing right now. So I pulled it up on my phone on YouTube, played it, and cried. I cried. You guys, Fly Away Home, just the song First Flight, is 3 minutes and 22 seconds long. And I ran one Saturday in the fall with this song on repeat for the entire 6.2 miles. That took me over an hour. And I only listened to this song and I cried multiple times. And guess where? 1 minute and 17 seconds. I don't want to like get into the plot and what's going on, but there truly is at 1:17 in the film, it is First Flight. It is the moment of lift, which also is an excellent book by Melinda, formerly Gates. That is one of my top favorite books I've ever read. First Flight, moment of lift. Moment 1:17 is the moment of lift, and I am telling you, when I go running, I'm running really slow. I'm running really bad. I'm running and feeling so freaking pissed at my boobs for being big and how much harder they make my life. And then I hit 1:17 and I, in my head and also physically, just like look upwards to the sky and feel that moment of lift, of like flight. It makes me feel lighter and faster and powerful because I think of this film and the ultralight gliders and the hang gliders they fly around. And it's so amazing and powerful. And I'll never not feel that way. It gives me goosebumps every time. Even just a few weeks ago, I went on a run really early in the morning and I was like, okay, another layer of amazing qualities about these Tangled stories is that was my favorite place to run. It was always so radiant. I just loved it. And then when we bought our house, it's right around the corner from that park. And now I run that loop all the time. And I feel so lucky. And a few weeks ago, I went out really early in the morning and I was like, okay, according to the time that sunrise is going to start, I think I can run to the side with the meadow. The meadow is the part that feels the most like Fly Away Home. It's like, if I run fast enough, I'm going to get there right as the sun's peeking over the horizon while I'm at the meadow. Let's put in a picture. This is a moment for a visual. Here is a picture from when I got to the meadow and saw the sunrise. And yes, I was listening to Fly Away Home First Flight. It's just, and then I ran down the hill and I saw a rainbow. And I cried then too. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing. So for me, that moment of First Flight is so tangible because the landscape that I'm listening to this music at looks so much like the scenes in Fly Away Home, which was filmed in Canada. Stunning, think rolling prairies, forests, meadows, lakes. It's basically Minnesota, but not. And that's another factor of why I'm a fan of it. There's also a lot of personal nostalgia behind this feeling of flight. Amy in the ultralight aircraft and her dad in his hang glider. Here's a little story. When I was young, I grew up in Connecticut as a child, and we did a lot of family vacations down to Florida. And we didn't do DVD players or VHS players or Game Boys or that kind of thing. We just made our own fun in the car. And I was always a big doodler. Oh my goodness. From the day I was born, I've been doodling. Road trips, yeah, absolutely doodle. But one fun thing was always stopping at a rest stop. And I don't mean a gas station. I mean a rest stop, because that route along the East Coast is very popular for tourism. And going in, and there would be this mega wall of brochures. It's just a bathroom, a vending machine, and brochures. That was a jackpot for being kids in a minivan on a road trip, because you get to go, you could pick as many as you wanted. I feel like you'd always pick at least one water park brochure to look at. The amusement park brochures were always really good visuals for flipping through on a road trip, because sometimes they'd have one of those illustrated park maps inside the brochure. I love an illustrated park map of an amusement park. So that's really great. You get state park ones, whatever. So on this trip to Florida, we stop at one of those. I pick up my brochures for my entertainment, and one of them is for the Outer Banks, specifically Kitty Hawk, specifically an establishment called Kitty Hawk Kites. I was 11 years old. Kitty Hawk Kites is a place. Do they still exist? I'm sure they still exist. I have no idea. They offer hang gliding, ultralight airplane rides, probably also some things like parasailing, beachfront activities. But it's a little more unique than just your typical beach, because Kitty Hawk is where the Wright brothers flew their first aircraft. And so it's a little bit more honed into that, and you're using the really big sand dunes, okay? I think when most people think of hang gliding, they're thinking you're jumping off a mountain in Switzerland, and you're thousands of feet up in the air. Sounds awesome, but that's not what this is. Hang gliding at Kitty Hawk means starting at the top of a sand dune you're hooked into the glider, and then you yourself run down the hill until your feet lift off the ground, and then you coast. And it's not very long. It's not a mountain in Switzerland. It kind of seems like the summer equivalent of extreme sledding, I guess, this idea of using a hill. Anyways, so I showed this to my dad because it looked awesome. And also because, I was already a fan of Fly Away Home, the film. I showed him and I said, I really want to do this. And he kind of did that dad laugh of oh, all right, well, if you could pay for it, we'll go. Well, 1 year later, I had saved up the money to go. And so he stuck by his word. It was just me and my dad. It was $80 to do the that basic sand dune down the hill hang gliding. $80. I don't even think I saved. It was just me and my dad. Obviously he covered the hotel and other expensive. He probably even paid for his own hang gliding. I just saved up the $80 for myself. I was 12 years old, so me and my dad went. And it is, to this day, one of our favorite shared memories. It was amazing. the feeling, I can't describe it. Imagine you're barefoot on this nice warm sand. You're up on this bluff, like this dune of sand, and then you're hooked into this giant thing, and you start running, and then eventually you realize your legs are doing the running motion, but they're no longer touching the ground. And so, without giving away any of the plot, I will tell you that moment 117 of Fly Away Home First Flight, as pointed out by Shasta Winters, that is exactly what's happening at that moment of the song. It's the moment of hang glider, running, and then flying. And so I love that moment in the movie, and I've done it in real life, and I have goosebumps right now because it's so amazing. It's just such a powerful, it's just amazing. That's it. That's it. And okay. This is Doodle Talk. I can talk about whatever. You can leave if you want. I'm just gonna keep sharing random stuff for a little bit longer. But then, like, we're talking 10 years later, I was on an airplane and I happened to be seated next to an off-duty pilot. Like, he was still dressed as a pilot. I think he just needed to, like, get back to wherever he started. And you could tell he spends a lot of time on planes, so he wanted to chat a little bit. And it wasn't the full flight. I would never accept a full flight conversation with a stranger, but we talked at takeoff and landing. And we knew someone in common. His cousin and I took a horseback riding class together. How random is that? So this pilot and I are talking, and he was saying something along the lines of, when it comes to flying, either you get it or you don't get it. The girls that get it. Something along the lines of, there's people who want to fly, and then there's the people that don't. And then I told him this story about going hang gliding, how I saved up my money, and me and my dad went hang gliding because I really wanted to do it, and it was amazing. And he said, "You've got it. You have it. You have that flying thing, that flying gene, the thing that makes you want to go in the air." And I will always remember that. It made me feel very special. Now, where was I going to go from there? Okay. Let me tell you one last way that this film score, particularly this song, is extremely significant to me. This is the last thing, I promise, then we're done. Do you ever think about what you would choose if you could do Make-A-Wish Foundation? Do you ever think about that? I have two answers for what I would choose as my Make-A-Wish. First is that I want to be in a bed on top of a mountain in Switzerland. Like, I literally want a helicopter to airlift an extremely comfortable bed to the top of an Alp. Not one of the ones that's like the top of the Alp, like it's covered in snow and like glaciers and stone. I mean, like one of the grassy ones that has cows on it. Drop the bed there. And then I want it to be like the coziest goose down comforter duvet set. And I want to slide into that bed. I just want to be in a bed and on a mountain in Switzerland. Can you imagine? Like, those are the only two places I want to be. I want to be in bed or I want to be on a mountain. Put them together. Now, quite unrealistic. So let me tell you another one. I would absolutely choose this because it's more attainable. I want to hear a real life in-person orchestra, symphony. I don't know what the word is. I want to hear live instrumentals of very talented people perform this song. I want to hear the best violin and celloist of the region, and a composer, not a composer, the guy or the gals like this. I want it airtight, perfectly performed First Flight from Fly Away Home. And I want to sit in that auditorium. Other people could be there, or it could be just me. It could be a private performance. I just want to hear this performed live by really talented musicians. That's how much I care about this. It is so remarkable. I can't think of anything better to choose for Make-A-Wish. Can you really say anything after that? I don't think you can. So in ending, let's talk about the doodle prompt, because I always leave with the doodle prompt, something that just a way to encourage you to like get off your screens and like find a piece of paper and draw a picture or make something. Just have a good time. And so the doodle prompt for today is based off of something my child said. It was one of those things where sometimes kids say stuff and you're like, holy crap, write that down immediately. This was one of those. They were playing a little game where they were pretending to have an amusement park, which was just sliding down the stairs on pillows. And they came up with a name for the ride. And it grew. It started out as a little phrase and then they kept adding to it until they said this phrase. You ready? The magic of the future of the darkness. The magic of the future of the darkness. The magic of the future of the darkness. In their context, it was the name of a ride. But when I hear that, I feel like you could take that thought and do so much with it. Your creative brain could take that in so many different directions. The magic of the future of the darkness. So doodle prompt for today. I think this is the most fun one yet. Well, we did do one where we came up with our cult outfits, which that one was really fun too. But do whatever you want with that. I'm really excited to give this a try. So yeah, the doodle prompt for this week, or this time, whatever, this time is do something with the magic of the future of the darkness. And there you go. Thanks for listening, you guys. I hope you have a great time with that doodle. And if you haven't already, go watch Fly Away Home. And if you have already watched Fly Away Home, let's go watch it again. Okay, bye.